What it is, everybody. Thanks for coming to my show today. It is Wednesday. We've been doing a show every day at about this time. It seems like I've started the show at about 2:22 p.m. Just in case this may go, I might post this to my main channel, which has 2 strikes. Oh, that would be a mistake. Well, anyway, my main channel I can upload to again, but it has 2 strikes. We're going to be talking about something that gives you strikes, something similar to the hog from Florida. And we're even going to talk about him today and show something that is controversial about him, but in context, so that we believe will be within the guidelines. Jokes, I can't tell you about it just yet. We'll get to that later in the video. I'm Nathan Stoltman. I'm your host. Doshi, I think he's still in bed. Doshi, show start. He might come out now. He's my producer. He's just not here yet. And then we have like a mascot, a little dog, a little Boston Terrier, who also appears now from time to time on the show. So it's a full show, a full team behind it. We're going to talk about Jason Goodman, which people have lost their YouTube channels for doing. We're not going to talk about him in a way that could have our YouTube channel shut down. And if it does, everyone will see the absurdity of it because of the way we're going to discuss the issue today. I put QAnon in the title because QAnon brings the people, and also because I'm actually going to be talking about it. I'm going to be talking about the latest intelligence I have about what QAnon really is. Intelligence you've never heard before, which I can't verify, but which sounds interesting. So I'm just going to tell you about it and you can decide for yourself. We had a big show yesterday talking about QAnon and talking about American intelligence media saying that QAnon, exposing QAnon as a psyop. And we're going to tell you a continuation of what that means. Today, QAnon, Jason Goodman, Corey Feldman. Oh, there, see? That's the mascot, the new one. But I don't know where Doshi. It's okay. He moves on his own. Don't get me off subject. Corey Feldman claims he was stabbed by 3 people. We're going to go over that story. We might talk about Julian Assange, and we're just going to play some funny videos, okay? Are you ready for the show? I'm going to give you the teaser for what we're going to be talking about. You'll see my intro, and then you'll see me again.
I don't even know where to begin with you, Jason. You should have called me a long time ago. Let me tell you, you're in over your head and your life is in danger. Did you see the new Q squared?
Damn, it wasn't as long as I wanted it to be. Hold on. Let me see if I played exactly what I wanted to.
If there's something I know more about you and how you've been manipulated than you know.
Maybe you do, and I would love to know about it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't even know where to begin with you, Jason. You should have called me a long time ago. Let me tell you, you're in over your head and your life is in danger.
Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. What he said. Jason Goodman claims he's had his life threatened. I just played some evidence that you can consider so you can decide whether his life has really been threatened. I'm going to read to you what it says under the video from which the clip I just played, if that makes grammatical sense. I'm going to tease you a little bit, draw out the suspense, and give it to you a little bit later in the show while giving you some entertaining news in between. First, a shout out to my sponsor, Truth Revolution Clothing. Makes this t-shirt as well as a few more. Printed by hand here in California. It's actually a company we own. We make the t-shirts. We come up with the words, and people love them. So let me show you that site, truthclothing.io. This is what it looks like right here. Telling the truth is a revolutionary act. These are the 3 featured t-shirts of the moment. The Russian bot tee I'm wearing because our new run of those, which we sold out the first run actually, is due imminently. So if you order one, which a few people just did yesterday, they're going to ship out as soon as they arrive. So I'm emailing people who order them just to make sure that's clear. But we also have Mostly Real, Truth Matters in stock, as well as a shop where you can get something like a Doshi sticker if that's all you want to do. And that supports the show. In fact, any of the things you get off my website support the show. So that's something that I promote on this show. That's who this show is brought to you by at the moment, as well as Steam It to a much lower extent, as well as your donations, if you please. Patreon.com/lifttheveil or paypal.me/lifttheveil. We're going to talk about a guy that asks for money even more than I do. First, let's get to some of the news of the day. Julian Assange, I'll just tell you that because someone brought it up in my Twitch stream. Julian Assange had his communication shut off by the Ecuadorian embassy, allegedly for posting things on Facebook and Twitter that were sensitive to politics. And those things were, it seems like, mostly about the poisoning of the Russian spy in the UK. Also, to get you up to speed with news on that, there's been a huge international reaction. We expelled 60 diplomats here in this country. The EU is expelling diplomats left and right. Theresa May is talking about a long-term plan to go against Russia because of what happened. Meanwhile, they've presented no evidence. The latest news is that the spy was poisoned at his doorstep. Now, on his doorstep, although they don't know who, they don't know how, they think maybe. The first I heard was that he was poisoned through the vents in his car. I think earlier it might have been they thought he was poisoned actually where he was found poisoned. Julian Assange tweeted about it. We assume that he questioned the official story, and now the Ecuadorian embassy, the Ecuadorian country, has shut off his communications because of some of the things he said. Now, that's the story about Julian Assange. Now, let's go to Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman tweeted out last night that he had been stabbed. Well, we'll find out exactly what he said because I don't want to misquote Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman of the Goonies fame. Awesome movie. Enough is enough. Mystery as Corey Feldman claims he was stabbed in a murder attempt for exposing child sex abuse scandal. He tweeted, "I'm in the hospital. I was attacked tonight. A man opened my car door and stabbed me with something. Please say prayers for us. Thank God it was only myself and my security in the car when 3 men approached. While security was distracted with a guy, a car pulled up and attacked. I'm okay." He tweeted out a picture of him inside the hospital. He claims a wolf pack had been harassing him on social media because of a project he's working on to expose abusers in the film industry. The star then said the LAPD were treating the investigation as an attempted homicide. The Mail Online reported that police officers were called to a home in Reseda just before midnight yesterday following a report of an assault with a deadly weapon. When they arrived, they found Corey with a minor abdominal wound he claimed had been caused by a sharp object. Officer Drake Madison said a man stopped Feldman's car earlier that night and made a jabbing motion before fleeing. There's another picture of him in the hospital. The officer said there were no lacerations or knife wounds. The officer said there were no lacerations or knife wounds, but TMZ reported that Corey said he was stabbed by something long and sharp, such as a syringe. He took himself to the hospital, where he tweeted out photos of himself in the hospital. You guys decide. A lot of people have ideas about Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman claims to be exposing pedophiles in Hollywood. He came out and revealed the names of some of those pedophiles, but they were pretty low level and people were relatively underwhelmed considering the buildup to that. He asked for a bunch of money to make a documentary and for legal help. A lot of people asked questions about that. Now he's tweeting out pictures of himself from a hospital room where he claims he was stabbed. He went to the hospital even though he showed no lacerations, no wounds. Sharp object. Weird story, worth covering, certainly. The other news, before we get into Q and the news in the title of this video, which is that Jason Goodman had his life threatened. We're going to cover some other news, should I say? Tidbits. There was a David Hogg video that came out. There are a few David Hogg things. One, and it's okay to talk about them because we're not saying anything about David Hogg. We're actually reporting on the news, and we're just going to show you just the way the news is reporting it, that conservatives now are mocking David Hogg for getting rejected by some colleges. This is a Mother Jones article. And there's an article also in The Guardian today saying that right-wing websites are dissing David Hogg. Oh, and that's related in the subtitle here. Oh, and they're also comparing the high school senior to Hitler. I said in the title that we'd talk about Hitler jokes. We're going to talk about Hitler jokes. And we're going to play a video that's at the center of the controversy. But we're going to give it context so that it couldn't reasonably be given a strike because we're just covering it in a news way rather than promoting the video or mocking or bullying anyone. Let me play the TMZ clip that apparently conservatives are making fun of.
Some of the other members of the movement, like Ryan Deitch, we got rejected from we got rejected from UCLA, and I got rejected from UCLA and UCSD. So it's been kind of annoying having to deal with that and everything else that's been going on. But at this point, we're changing the world. We're too busy. Right now, it's too hard to focus on that.
Are you a little surprised that schools haven't solicited you? Because beyond having a 4.2 grade point average, you are doing important things.
I'm not surprised at all, in all honesty. I think there's a lot of amazing people that don't get into college, not only that do things like I do, but because their voices just aren't heard in the tsunami of people that apply every year to colleges in such an in such a really impacted school system here that we have in America, where people have to go into massive amounts of debt just to go to college and get an education. I think it's really sad, but it's the truth.
So where are you going to go?
I don't know. I don't.
Where'd you
right now? I mean, honestly, I have no clue. I haven't even thought about that, really.
Where'd you get accepted?
I got accepted to, FAU, which is Florida Atlantic University, Cal Poly, and where else did I get accepted? Well,
San Marcos.
Cal State San Marcos. I got rejected from, Cal State Long Beach as well.
It must be a little disappointing given that you had to go through this kind of trauma, you picked yourself up, and you created a movement that has really resonated around the world.
Yeah. It is absolutely disappointing, but at this point, we're already changing the world. If colleges want to support us in that, great. If they don't, doesn't matter. We're still going to change the world.
TMZ. Bang, bang, bang. So anyway, that's not that exciting a clip, but conservatives are mocking David Hogg because of that clip. Also, it said that they're comparing David Hogg to Hitler on conservative news sites. So, and then there's one more story, which is that he wasn't at school when the shooting happened. You might have heard that. I've had people saying it to me in the chat. We are going to do a reality check on that. A reality check, just like Ben Swan. And we're going to see whether he really wasn't at school during the shooting, as conservatives are saying. We're going to do a reality check on that. Let me do that first. This is another conservative conspiracy theory that he was not at school during the shooting. And this is the headline of the article. One of the articles about it, exposed, David Hogg admits he was at home during Parkland shooting. I'll tell you the editor's update in a second. Let me play the clip that led conservatives, conspiracy theorists, to believe that he wasn't at school during the shooting. Let's see. I don't know where it comes. I think it comes near the beginning. I hope so, at least. I didn't preview this video. Making a big screen for you. Oh no. We're gonna have.
Well, I checked Nick's pulse. I couldn't reach Helena; she was farther away. But Nick was right next to me. So.
No. Oh, see, this is what happens. I probably should look it up on BitChute. Darn, I should have done more research before the show. I work so hard, but when things don't come together, they really don't come together. I'm gonna look up David Hogg not at school. Let's see. Let's see how good the search is for BitChute, actually. It's okay. It's okay to talk about this. Man, it is important for me to have a live channel, but it's still important for me to give you the real news about things like Jason Goodman and about things like David Hogg even. The search isn't running through for me. Okay. Well, he says in that video, oh man, I need the clip for you, don't I? Oh, man, I'm looking right now. BitChute. Where am I? Here. Oh no, I'm going to play that video too, maybe. Man. Their search function isn't working right now. We're looking for it. Okay, well, I know you need evidence. I need evidence for myself of all this stuff. Oh, shit on my face. Sorry, that's bad language. Well, let me just tell you the result of it. He said he was 3 miles away when the shooting happened. I really need to play it for you guys. And now I think I lost the ball entirely. Man, I hate slowing down the show. David Hogg, I'm just gonna not at school. I have to look on YouTube because the BitChute search. Here we go. Great. Boom.
On the day of the shooting, I got my camera and got on my bike and rode as fast as I could 3 miles from my house to the school to get as much video and get on as many interviews as I could, because I knew that this could not be another mass shooting.
Got it? That's where the conspiracy theory started. He said, I'll play it again. You ready? This is why people think that he wasn't at school. See what you think.
On the day of the shooting, I got my camera and got on my bike and rode as fast as I could 3 miles from my house to the school to get as much video and get on as many interviews as I could, because I knew that this could not be another mass shooting.
Got it? And then you start thinking, well, how did he shoot those interviews inside of closets with students and so forth? Where did that come from if he wasn't actually at school during the shooting? Let me show you. There's an editor's update. Upon further review, it has come to our attention that the CBS segment was intentionally released out of context. The statements made by Hogg in the video were in reference to his returning to the school that evening to conduct interviews. CBS declined to comment in response to inquiries from our staff. But let me rebut or interject that he didn't sound like he said as soon as he heard about the shooting. Am I right? He said as soon as he heard about the shooting. Why do I keep going to the wrong tabs? He said as soon as he heard about the shooting, he went to the school. It's weird. It is weird they'd say that. Apparently, this is taken out of context. The article has been updated to say it's taken out of context.
Of the shooting, I got my...
Hold on.
On the day of the shooting, I got my camera and got on my bike and rode as fast as I could 3 miles from my house to the school to get as much video and get on as many interviews as I could, because I knew that this could not be another mass shooting.
Huh, weird. Why would he get on his bike? Why wouldn't he just stay at school, I wonder? It is a weird story. But apparently it's been debunked. It's been debunked because he really was at school and he was talking about later that night. The other news, and this was reported in The Guardian, like I said, conservative websites are comparing David Hogg to Hitler in a video that's been published on YouTube, which the video itself has been marked as inappropriate. So people need to click that they understand that it's inappropriate before they watch it. And that's a way to put the video in a virtual jail so that people can't watch it. So what I'm going to do here in a grand experiment is actually play the video, but because I'm giving context, it would not require the same sort of warning before watching it, because, does that make sense? It won't require the same warning before watching it because I'm going to give you a warning right now, which is that you may find this video offensive, like several people claim to have found it. Sometimes I think of doing things on my show that sounded better when I thought about it earlier. Think I can do that? You think I can actually do that? Hold on, I'm going to hold off. We'll see what people say in the chat. It's a video with Hitler's voice overdubbed on a grainy video of David Hogg at the March for Our Lives in Los Angeles. I don't think I can play it. It sounded like a good idea. It sounded like a good idea before I really thought about it. Too important for me to have a live show. Okay, I'm going to show you instead a funny video from BitChute. And I'm going to plug BitChute, even though I used to plug DTube. And I still plug DTube because there's actually compensation mechanism there and it's associated with Steemit, which is great. But I tell you, BitChute is cool and it works well even on your mobile browser. It looks pretty good. And what I like about it is you can go to bitchute.com and just scroll down and you'll find something you want to see. I found a few interesting videos. For example, the David Hogg Hitler video was pretty funny. And I can't play that, unfortunately. And then I found this video, which is titled, BBC Trying to Be Sarcastic Ends Up Being Relevant, Feminism. And this is apparently a video, like a comedy video that was on the BBC. And it is pretty funny and relevant, I believe. Let me get the framing right here. There we go. It wasn't right before. Okay, let's see. Right here. Okay. I'm going to play this short video from the BBC because it is something that you should see. Then we'll talk about the real news.
For years, women...
I'm fixing my volume while I'll see. This is what happens when I promote something. It downloads from other computers, peer-to-peer. Right now it says there are 0 peers. We're seeing the pitfalls of both live video and decentralized video, peer-to-peer, because the video is now frozen. Let me take this time to promote the video service that I'm most reliably on and which gives you the most reliable updates when I go live. That's twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. You can also download the app for your phone. It's a good app. That's the best way to get notifications. Subscribe to that channel, hit the notifications, and even if you just want to watch on YouTube, at least you'll know I'm going live when you get the Twitch update. And I go live a few minutes before I go live on YouTube. So I give them a little private conversation that you don't get on this network. Twitch.tv/lifttheveil411. The video still appears to be loading. If there's a problem with it, we can skip it. 3 peers now.
For years, women have fought hard to ensure that our generation had an equal place in the workforce.
And to all those women, we just want to say,
comedy is not as funny when the timing's wrong. Okay, well, let's get to the real news then. F you, BitChute. Let's get to the real news. Crowdsource the Truth and Jason Goodman. What can I say? No, really, what can I say about Jason Goodman? The truth community, for the most part, is united in opposition to Jason Goodman for one reason or another. Jason Goodman has been responsible directly for the termination of multiple YouTube channels, for people discussing him or saying things about him. He seems to, people have said on their shows, and I'm not saying, this is a reality check, that he's Mossad, that he's connected to Mossad, that he's not a real truther, and that he might be a pedophile. That's what people have said, okay? I have no evidence to support either of those conclusions. I have seen no evidence to support either of those conclusions. I'll tell you about Q after. I forgot I still have the QAnon part. I'll tell you about Q after, the latest intel. I've not seen evidence to support those allegations. The reason people are saying that is because of some things Jason Goodman said on his show about being concerned that there's some material that might be released showing some kind of intimate communications via an app like Tinder. There was a YouTube channel, since been terminated, that played clips from Jason Goodman's show where he did discuss talking to young ladies on Tinder. Not younger than 18 or anything like that. There was a post put up on 4chan, I believe, claiming to be maybe not a victim, but claiming to have had conversations via Messenger on the Tinder application. Queen Tut has talked about it. Everybody who's talked about it has had their channel struck. I'm not making any accusations, though. So it would be completely unreasonable for Jason Goodman to do anything about this video. I just want to make it as unreasonable as possible for him to do that, because I'm actually not saying anything or making any accusations. Anything I say, I'm just going to present some evidence. And I want to talk about the interview he just had with the guy I was talking about on my show yesterday, Thomas Paine, a.k.a. Doug Gabriel of American Intelligence Media, who just 2 days ago now, I believe, released a controversial video called Q Exposed as PSYOP. That's what I covered on my show yesterday. A lot of people tuned in for that. Today, a video that allegedly was made on Monday evening, with Thomas Paine, a.k.a. Douglas Gabriel, being interviewed by Jason Goodman. During the course of that interview, Thomas Paine said some things, who's not related in any way to the Gateway pundit, who is also Thomas Paine. Said some things that apparently Jason Goodman took to be a threat to his life. He also said a lot of other things that were completely fascinating. Because of the things he said on this show, this Thomas Paine I'm talking about of American Intelligence Media, because of the things he said on this show with Jason Goodman, which I'm only going to play short clips from, only to address Jason's claim and to put the word out there that Jason says he's had his life threatened, and I want people to hear what Thomas said so that the news is reported. It's very, very newsworthy. Nothing to give a strike over, certainly. Although people are already saying stuff in the chat. Apparently, Crowdsourced Truth has been getting strikes too. Not sure how. Jason Goodman claims under this video, which I listened to in its entirety, and I have a million questions about. And because of those questions, I asked Thomas Paine. I'm in communications with Thomas Paine. I had previously been in communications with him. I told you guys that it was the same guy I'd previously been in communication with. I have been in communication with him in the sense that I reached out to him. In the sense that I reached out to him because I had his information to see if he wanted to come on the show and address what happened. I was turned down. I thought it should be addressed immediately because once you see this explosive interview with Jason Goodman, which I'll only play you short pieces of, which are not nearly the most interesting parts, I believe that this is the biggest story on the internet. Certainly the most fascinating to me. Definitely the most exciting in this particular sphere of electromagnetic force and spirit. This section of YouTube where magic happens. This is the exciting story. I'm only going to play you a short clip of it so that there's no chance of I'm not using his material to get views. This is, but has at the moment, let's see. I'm going to refresh it just to see. Just came out today.
I know more
Oops. That was the clip I played to start the show. I'll play that one more time for people who are just tuning in. Anatomy of a PSYOP, Volume 1, White Hats, Black Hats, and Ass Hats. Fake Thomas Paine threatens Jason. He calls him the fake Thomas Paine because he thinks he's deliberately impersonating the Thomas Paine who publishes True Pundit, and that does not appear to be the case. I think it's just a coincidence. But that's why he calls him the fake Thomas Paine. He says in his description, this is Jason Goodman who says this, New Age freak show Douglas Gabriel, a.k.a. Thomas Paine, is the latest double-talking charlatan to attempt to infiltrate the alternative media world. Why would we trust an ex-NSA officer? Is he still active? Is he just a dope? Among other ridiculous things, he threatens my life in the video, and now it is evidence. As I move forward pursuing criminal charges, any attempts at privacy or other strikes on this video could be seen as an effort to obstruct justice. And below, you can become a sponsor of Crowdsource the Truth. I read that before I'd heard the interview. I'm going to play something that I opened the show with. I'll play it again. Something that's said more than once during the course of the interview. I'll just play you the one time, and I'll play you the other thing he says that's slightly different that could be interpreted as a threat. And Jason Goodman claims that he'll be bringing criminal charges. I believe that's what he says. He is moving forward, pursuing criminal charges because of what was said in this interview published today, which was conducted on Monday evening.
If there's
I
something
guess I
you
know
can...
more about you and how you've been manipulated than you know.
Maybe you do, and I would love to know about it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't even know where to begin with you, Jason. You should have called me a long time ago. Let me tell you, you're in over your head and your life is in danger.
Understood? Then he goes on, it's because he was talking about George Webb. I will summarize many of the things that were said in the video. He asked Jason Goodman to summarize his relationship with George Webb. And in response, Jason summarized his whole raison d'etre for being a truther from the beginning, which I had never heard before, and I could summarize for you. And then talks about his relationship with George Webb and why he ended it. And then Thomas Paine challenges him, says he has no idea who George Webb really is, who he works for, and that he's a dangerous guy, basically. And that's when he gets into saying that Jason Goodman is in over his head and his life is in danger. That's because Jason Goodman, based on what he said, per Thomas Paine of American Intelligence Media, if he doesn't know who he's working for or who he's working with, which Thomas proposes he does, and insinuates that Jason is getting paid by someone to do what he's doing, which is feed disinformation perhaps, or be part of some operation, is what's insinuated by Thomas Paine. He says if he doesn't realize that's the way he's being used, and it just seems like he's working for the opposition, then he's really in trouble and his life is in danger. That is what I read from this video. You should really watch this video. You can skip through, the first 10 minutes or so, because they just argue about who wanted to call who, but then it gets really good for the last 30 minutes or so, especially if you're interested in George Webb, Jason Goodman, or associated characters. Very, very interesting. Okay, let me fast forward to where it gets a little more threatening, and you can decide whether Jason Goodman has a case for saying his life has been threatened. Oh, and Jason Goodman's invited on my show too. I need to be able to get in touch with him. He usually ignores me. I need to reach out to him, and I'll ask him on the show too, because I asked Thomas Paine on the show, and he declined, said maybe next week. I said next week's going to be too late. Your credibility depends on you appearing as soon as possible to address these charges. I gave the hard sell. I said, I'm going live in an hour. People don't know who to trust. They want to hear from you. He said, can't do it. Maybe next week. I said, I'm going to talk about it anyway. Didn't work. Jason Goodman is now officially invited on this show to talk about it too. And later I'll be taking calls, and anyone can call in at 650-GAY-TAXI. I don't have anybody answering the phones. You have to wait till I open them up. But we don't hide anything. We don't fear anything. Should Jason be afraid?
You're in over your head. You're drowning. I'm going to tell you one more time. I will tell you, this is a test. You fuck it up, I will take you out. George Webb is at G16. He works for the Department of Intelligence, Department of Defense. That means he works for the Board of Broadcasting Governors, like half the fucking people you're supporting do. He gets paid because he was a DIDOD. He said it right on the tape because he must be a fucking crazy man, which we know.
I don't even know what any of that stuff is.
I know you don't. So me telling you is a test. But I'm telling you, you wanted to know? I'm telling you all but his real telephone number where he really lives, his real family, his real name, and his retirement funds, which we
Okay. Got it? There was as much interesting information about George Webb as there was as the confrontation itself was interesting between Jason Goodman and Thomas Paine. These are the kind of things that make me smile a little bit because it's dramatic. It's the kind of thing I'm into. It's like a soap opera right here on YouTube for everybody to see. We want to get to the bottom of it. Jason Goodman said, I'm going to give you a story of his life because I hadn't heard it before, and I'm not going to play it from his show because I haven't used a long enough clip for it to be given a strike. I haven't used a long enough clip. Everyone can agree that I'm being very reasonable. Jason Goodman is invited on this show. Jason Goodman said that the reason he's a truther is that he was making 3D movies previously, and the reason he has an apartment, which many people report to be a multi-million-dollar apartment in New York, which he doesn't deny as far as I can tell. He was working in 3D movies when 3D movies were a thing, worked on X-Men, and then worked on some little stuff and made some money. And then they stopped making 3D movies. His business went way down. He wasn't in that business anymore. And he says he was watching the mainstream news, realized it was all lies, and decided that he was going to create a business model where he does news reporting on YouTube. That's real news. And he gets crowd support, and that's how he earns an income, and he wants to turn it into a business. Okay, that's what he decided. With only a few thousand subscribers, he did that. Same as I did, but it's actually it's a crazy, stupid business model. You have to do something else other than that. I realized. He has over 50,000 subscribers, he's not even close to earning any kind of income, really, that would support him. Or nearly the things he does. Not nearly. I suggest he would need 200,000 plus subs to be able to get the kind of donations that he would need to support his lifestyle and his production. That's what he decided to do. He saw George Webb reporting because he was watching videos on YouTube. He felt drawn to George Webb. George Webb said something about needing to get in talk, wanting to know somebody who knew Lee Stranahan and something about DC. And that's when Jason contacted George Webb. I'm giving you the whole story because I can't play the video, and it's fascinating to me. Okay, I know y'all want to know how Jason Goodman did this. So then, and then he was in contact with George Webb. He said he let him sleep on his couch in his apartment in New York so that George wouldn't have to be in hotels all the time. He said he broke up with him because George Webb is an alcoholic. He wanted him to show up to the show not being drunk. The next day after he said that, it was 30 minutes before the show and George Webb wasn't there. Jason Goodman went down to the bar on the corner and George Webb was there drinking. A funny story. And then he said he fired him basically. And that's when they broke up. But he also said he latched on to George. He implies that he latched on to George because he already had a bigger following. And that's what Jason Goodman wanted because he's trying to create this business, right? So he latched on to George Webb. Thomas implies that George Webb is something much more than Jason Goodman realizes, or that Jason Goodman actually realizes it and is an agent of some sort and is getting paid somehow. And I believe Thomas says he has evidence of this. There are many, many people who don't like Jason Goodman. There are several people. People are relatively united in dislike for that person. I'm reporting on what's happening in the broader community place, okay? Is that a good enough story? Okay, everybody's invited on the show. We hope to hear from Thomas. We hope to hear from Jason Goodman. We'll try to reach out to Jason Goodman and wish we'd done a better job of doing that already. Now, should I tell you about Q? I'm thinking about it. Let's see if we have people tuned in. I said I'd tell you about Q, so I have to tell you about Q. This is the latest intelligence that I've received about Q more than once since my reporting on Q, because I've been skeptical since the beginning. Allegedly, there are real people, white hats, I guess you could call them, who have reached out to me personally because allegedly they like me and they think I'm asking questions actually the way the original Q asked questions. The original Q seems to be supported by white hats, is what I could call them, in the attached to the intelligence community in some way, who apparently have some sort of inside information in some way, appreciate what I'm doing, asking questions about QAnon. I don't believe it. I don't disbelieve it. I'm just telling you this is what is being imparted to me, is that I'm doing good work by asking questions about Q and that I'm on the right path, even though I originally claimed Q as a puzzle way before I had any evidence to support that, simply based on my experience and the way I read into things. Somebody allegedly thinks I'm doing a good job and sometimes feed me information that they know might be repeated on my show. I seldom report on that because I don't believe anything people tell me. This information is interesting enough that I'm going to tell you about it because I've been told I can. That may be the intention. This may be disinformation. But I'm still going to give you a breakdown, because I said I would, about Q, about the Q PSYOP, about Cicada 3301. Q was a creation of Cicada. Cicada, many I've claimed, is an intelligence recruiting tool. Others are claiming that it's not, that it's actually a good organization that's trying to do good things, not trying to recruit people, not cult-like. And I believe what this is what people have talked about, that there is something separate from the deep state that is that are patriots, the way people think of it, that are trying to expose what they believe is the evil cabal, which is mostly related to Obama, Hillary Clinton, Democrats, etc., and trying to take back this country and have a second revolution of some sort, which is, Thomas Paine says something about that on Jason Goodman's show. He says George Webb isn't a part of this second revolution. He's trying to overthrow the government. There's a difference there. I've seen enough evidence, or maybe heard from enough people, that I believe that there are people who believe they're doing God's work, in quotes, I guess, by supporting or going against the deep state as we know it, the Clinton-Obama aligned deep state. Those people don't like characters like George Webb, Jason Goodman, who aren't on their team, and they think that they're working for the other side. And what Thomas was saying to Jason Goodman is, if you aren't working for the other side, then you're going to die, basically, because you don't know what you're involved with. You could extrapolate that out and say that there are YouTubers and Q is something that's been determined by this group, at least some subset of some group, as now being not what it was intended to be, and in fact being an operation that people have been led astray, and that it's being run by somebody who's on the other team or a totally different team. I'm going to tell you what team today on this show, exclusively. Q started out as being something good. These people say. These people who are still opposed to people like Jason Goodman, George Webb, Robert David Steele, apparently Jerome Corsi as well, mostly because of their alignment with Q and believing that it's leading people down the wrong path. What path? I'm going to tell you. Q is the greatest, I've had it described to me as the greatest feedback loop in the history of humanity, that it reached 30 million people. And I said it's incredibly powerful. It, as an entity, is able to create trends and to create mind viruses and to disperse information to millions of people, completely circumventing mainstream communication networks. It's able to influence a broad swath of people and, in fact, has them under their spell. It started off as a project which probably became more successful than the developers ever imagined, and apparently was connected to Cicada, which is a puzzle or an ARG, which is pitched as something to make you more than you are, or to let you understand that you are more than you believe you are. There's Doshi. We have the whole crew here. By solving these puzzles and showing you that you are capable of doing things you never thought you could do before. I'll give you the clear picture. Doshi's here for people who just listen most of the time. Everybody likes it when he shows up. The success of Q got the attention of intelligence services and bad actors. Because of its success and because it's a lot easier to jump on a network that's already been created rather than have to create one yourself from scratch and figure out the psyops and stuff to get it going. This Q thing sucked in all these people and it was ready-made for somebody to jump in and hijack it. That was done by maybe, I'm told, Israeli intelligence. Israeli intelligence hijacked Q, rented out 8chan, and hijacked the original Q and changed it. The purpose of doing so is to provide cover for Netanyahu, good friends with Jared Kushner, to go to war with Iran so that Netanyahu maintains support in his country, which he's losing with all the corruption scandals and so forth. Netanyahu was involved in directing this Q narrative, which is made to put support behind Donald Trump and eventually support behind the war with Iran. Okay? That hasn't happened yet, as far as I can tell. So we're going to have to watch Q. But this is the report I'm getting. I'm proposing it to you because it's interesting. The Q PSYOP is directed at American evangelicals because Israeli intelligence believes that American evangelicals are very easy to manipulate and they have no respect actually for them and kind of for Americans in general. They think that we're very easy to be led. And the Q PSYOP shows recently some of that arrogance coming through, if you believe this story. Think about how propaganda, Q propaganda, and other propaganda similar to it, like SGT report, uses God and Trump in the same sentence frequently. Trump being the biggest friend to Israel, the champion of the Zionist cause, maybe the best for Zionists that we've ever had in office. Jared Kushner being controlled by Netanyahu as much as possible, and Jared Kushner being seen as the weak link into the White House. Guess what else? Jared Kushner is responsible for leaking out the pictures, which confirmed Q, and most likely was they found out exactly who did it. I mean, intelligence must have seen that, and not authorized, but just because, okay, this is an idea. Jared Kushner leaked out the pictures from Air Force One and the Christmas pictures, which confirmed Q. He's no longer in the White House. You're not going to get any pictures like that anymore. All the cover for Iran, for going to war with Iran. Is there some evidence of Netanyahu's contempt for Americans and having them be easy to manipulate? I have a clip for you I'm going to play. It's a video on YouTube called Netanyahu, America is Easily Manipulated, from the Sage of Quay, where Netanyahu is having what he believes is a private conversation. First, he asked the cameras to be turned off, then they turned them back on. You'll be able to read the subtitles, and I'll read you the important ones. But take a look at the screen and read the subtitles because it's in Hebrew. He says, America is something you can easily maneuver and move in the right direction. Okay? Okay, he's talking about attacking the Palestinian Authority and taking harsh action against Palestinians. And she's saying, well, won't the world say that we're doing the wrong thing? And he says, well, no, Americans are really easy to manipulate. 80% of Americans support us. So what are they going to do, basically, is what he says. And that's why they're so excited about American president moving the embassy to Jerusalem. And here Netanyahu goes in. He says he wasn't afraid to maneuver the Clinton administration. Wasn't afraid to confront Clinton, go against the UN. All right, I think that's enough. So that's what he says about America. That is the story about QAnon that we gave you on this show. Did I follow through on all my promises? If you've been looking at my t-shirt wondering where you can get one, and you just tuned in late, truthclothing.io, along with a few other shirts that are really fantastic. That's Truth Revolution Clothing. Got a couple orders just during the show yesterday. I wasn't even wearing it. People love Truth Revolution Clothing. I'm going to open the phones. And they're truly open. I will take phone calls from everyone. 650-429-8294. 650-GAY-TAXI. That's my number. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for following me on YouTube. You can tell me that this video is definitely going to get a strike and that I need to take it down. I hate to do that. But I'd consider it in order to salvage this live streaming channel, which are hard things to get. I have 3 channels. This is the only one I can live stream on. So do you guys think I followed the rules today? You'll have to tell me. I'll look in the chat. Thanks everybody who's joining me on Twitch right now. Thanks everybody who's joining me on YouTube. For those of you watching on the replay, thank you. And you may have found me on BitChute or DTube. You may have been listening to me one of people's favorite ways to listen, which is on the podcast, which you can find anywhere podcasts are given away by searching Lift the Veil. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, not much. What's going on with you?
I just listened to your show. Just want to comment on a couple things.
Great.
Are you ready? Or?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, man.
Great.
This is truth to you, for you. But this whole thing going on with this PSYOP and this intel with the American intelligence, go back and listen to a video called The Whore of Babylon by them.
Okay.
He admits that he's a Jesuit priest.
Okay. I forgot to get into this part. Okay, I forgot to get into the New Age religion stuff, the Freemason stuff,
Here's where
the Jesuit stuff.
This tells us everything. And my phone's beeping. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
He tells us that Pope Benedict is a saint. That this is the bad pope, but the last pope's the good pope. That right there ought to tell us everything about this guy.
Well, yes. Okay. I forgot to get into the things that are questionable about Thomas Paine. So thank you for doing that. People say he's a Jesuit. He runs another channel that's basically like New Agey. I showed on his website that he is recruiting for a secret society or cult of some sort, at least at surface value. That's what it looks like. He talks about the same things as Freemasonry, actually mentions Freemasonry on this site, The Invisible College. Also runs another YouTube channel called One Spirit or something like that, which is a New Age kind of theosophy type channel, anthroposophy, I think it's called, on one of his channels. So thank you for bringing that up. You say he said he's a Jesuit. Some people say he's a Mason, and he certainly promotes Freemasonry type stuff.
Well, he says this himself on the video titled "The Whore of Babylon" at the 1 minute and 10-second mark. He says, "I am a Jesuit, a former Jesuit priest." Well, did he take the oath? If you did, you have to read into that. Not only that, if you listen to what he's saying now, he's a universalist. What's that mean? He's a dominionist. He's still a Catholic, universalist or Catholic. He believes in the Jesuit doctrine of universalism or building a kingdom on earth. That's the Luciferian doctrine, and it just needs to be addressed.
Yeah, so that I pointed out some of the things yesterday that were worrisome, and a lot of people equate that stuff with Luciferianism, and perhaps rightly so. I'd love to have him on the show to ask him questions about that and about his secret society. Does it mean that all of his information is incorrect? That's the question. I still believe a lot of the things he says, and he might be connected to the intelligence community. What do you think?
Well, he's trying to set the narrative for the whole YouTube channel community or whatever by saying, if you're not talking SES, you're a PSYOP.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that too, because the SES is not the biggest problem. It's a problem, yes, but how was it created? It was created through the military-industrial complex. How did that come about? Through Proclamation 2040 and Trading with the Enemy Act. And here's where it gets different. Eric John Phelps is the only person I know who is offering solutions with classes and to regain your status. Nobody else on YouTube is offering solutions. It's just talk. But the debate has already been sent to him. If he wants to debate Phelps, it's out there.
Okay.
Check out Proclamation 2040 and Trading with the Enemy Act.
Okay, and you mentioned that you find somebody on YouTube or in the truth community to be doing something more than others. Why don't you say that name again, just so I know?
Eric John Phelps.
Eric John Phelps. Okay. All right.
He wrote the book, Vatican Assassins. It took him 25 years to write it. He's a good friend. He's offering private citizenship classes. You have to know what's been done to us. And it's through Proclamation 2040, and nobody talks about it. That's the big secret.
Okay.
We're all enemies of the state under Proclamation 2040. It's all a psyop. Trump's a shield. He's a puppet. He's Jesuit trained out of Fordham. I mean, I'm out of breath. Sorry, playing with my kid here. But
that's okay. Okay, well, I got it. Thanks for the call. Is the channel called Second Reformation? Is that what the channel's called? So that's what comes up when I search it.
No, that's just somebody that puts up his channels or his videos.
Okay.
His channel is 24/7 World Radio.
Oh, okay, 24/7 World Radio. Okay, well, I'll have to look into it, if nothing else, just to see what that person's talking about. So thanks for the heads up on that.
Yeah, man, have a good one. Thanks.
All right, you too. Cheers. Okay, good call to start out. Thanks for reminding me. People in my comments were mentioning, and I would have gotten excoriated in the comments for not mentioning that it's a new age psyop, or what people might call a new age psyop. I'm kind of new agey. I'm kind of cult-like. I do believe we offer solutions on this show from time to time. So don't trust me either, is what I'm saying. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Hey, Nathan, it's Frank.
Hey, Frank. Is this Frank Bacon?
Yeah.
Did you see Dave Acton?
My voice by now?
Did you see Dave Acton is in the chat?
No, but Dave should reach out a little bit more and get involved a little bit more because he's fun for all kinds of reasons.
Oh, yeah.
But
lots of fun.
Good show today, as always.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So that was the first time I'd heard that. You'd mentioned it, and then I went and looked for it, that Thomas Paine called to Goodman. But,
yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Very interesting, wasn't it? I mean, really interesting.
Yeah. So is that the guy you've been connected with for a while and been talking to for a while?
I talked to him a while back. I haven't been having direct communications with him for a while. And I had no idea the person I was talking to was this same Thomas on American Intelligence Media, who everybody's pointing out his real name is Douglas Gabriel, apparently. Okay. And he admits that, and that's what Jason Goodman was calling him on the show. But I had been in communication with before. He had invited me allegedly to his house nearby. And I believed subsequently that was an effort to recruit me into something. But yeah. I don't know that for a fact. I just stopped communicating. And then and there were some weird things, like he had suggested Robert David Steele come on my show, which I found suspicious. So anyway,
I think you should get Robert Steele on your show, and I think you should get a clearer indication of what I have such a hard time with why the community, not your community, but just the community in general, bashes the hell out of Robert Steele, other than the fact that they're projecting a lot of their own FUD.
You like David? That's right. I forgot you love Robert David Steele. Yeah, I mean, well, I just think he's.
It's not that I love him. I mean, it's like I enjoy the truther communities, and when I go to like a lot of these books where you find some documentation, not evidence, but I mean some really not maybe justifiable to prove everything that you think is wrong with the world, but if you go and you look on Amazon, the guy's done 2,500 book reviews. Okay, he's an analyst. He's some dude out of Langley, and we know lots of people that have had previous jobs in the government. Hell, I don't trust the doctor that passes the vaccines. I trust them even less than some of the people that say that they've had some prior intelligence work. Because they're not order followers anymore. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you trust that these people that say they're ex-intelligence are actually ex-intelligence. I mean, one of the reasons I have doubts about Thomas Paine is that he's NSA. I mean, he was a cryptologist for the NSA.
Right.
And apparently a really smart one.
Can I say something to kind of dispel it or neutralize it for one thing? Like ex-intelligence is meaningless to me. Intelligence is meaningless to me.
Okay.
Intelligence squared is something important. And people like Thomas are more like the intelligence squared type, the people that are esoteric. Because when you get deep into the intelligence community and PSYOPs and MK Ultra, you come to find out what has been known for thousands of years by people that practice the dark arts. And that is that the human mind is very easy to corrupt, take over, and make it do things that you want it to do, which is essentially your reality, people, the reality that you're living in. Your government is eating your fucking kids, for crying out loud. I'm trying to be G-rated here, brother.
Good.
Sorry.
Very good. People don't like it when you curse.
Yeah, well, I got to cut that way back. But I was triggered the other day when you brought it up. But I also saw the mess that this guy keeps getting into. He is a runaway. I'm talking about Goodman now. He's a runaway, wonderful soap opera. And I agree with you. I think it's one of the most fascinatingly interesting things on the TV right now. You've got this Hollywood guy. Okay, here's what I think about Jason. You can go on my Steam account. You can see what I've written back in response to his Mossad jabs, because he keeps conflating everybody together. So if you're an enemy of Jason, immediately you're bringing up Mossad, or he just doesn't know how to keep the conversation tight and meaningful.
He believes
all over the place.
He believes that there's a conspiracy organized against him, and will say that. Yeah,
a lot of people that don't like him.
Okay, so I mentioned that. And do you think there's anything about my coverage today that would either deserve
lead him to block you?
Yeah. Well,
I think he's got way too many people in his that he's juggling right now. I don't know how this guy keeps up the energy other than he is just in a wind-up toy and set on, attack mode.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the one thing I have a hard time with. Other than the time that DeFango chewed out RDS on his show for good reason, because RDS is a rude bastard.
Right.
Which is what I told Jason in our first phone call. I just said, yeah, he's a rude bastard. Get over it. Let me tell you about Steam It. But he conveyed that phone call as a way of like, I'm some kind of weird psychic operative that was trying to get in and mess with his stuff, and RDS is a liar and everything. So I found out his little reality loop. He's got a very skewed way of looking at reality. We all do, by the way, and being a psychic doesn't make it any more fun for me. Trust me, everybody is insane. But that guy is gaga. I mean, so out of the loop. It's not even funny. And for him to get so upset at Robert Steele and go after him the way he did, while conflating all these other things that he's looking at with the Hillary Clinton Foundation and the rat lines and all this other investigation that he's supposedly doing, it's very sloppy. There's something very I do think there's kind of an Israeli scent to something here, because one thing about Robert Steele is he's hated by Israel. I mean, not Israel, but the neocons, the Zionist neocons.
How does he feel about John Bolton? Do you know?
I haven't been keeping up with him to find out about that, but I don't think he's very positive about the Bolton thing.
Okay.
I don't know. But that would be a good angle to get in with him. Look, he's an old dude, and he's retired, and he doesn't make a lot of money, and he's trying to get a good job back with the government while all this MAGA crap is going on. You know what I mean?
So
That's
what do you think of Thomas Paine's claims that people like, and I don't know that he mentioned Robert David Steele, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the list, and what he said about Jerome Corsi, and what he says kind of about QTubers, and what he said about Jason Goodman, is that he believes that Jason Goodman is on somebody's payroll. And he believed that George Webb is on some completely other team, and that he's a dangerous individual, which I believe as well is that he's much more dangerous than people realize. And I tangled with him or his brother or both or neither, or however you want to look at it. And I believe there is some danger there. What do you think of the things he said on that show today, and how he said Jason Goodman's life is in danger? And because somebody mentioned in the chat, and I didn't mention it, what do you think of Jason coming off as a little more reasonable than Thomas during that interview, where you almost...
Yeah, to Jason's credit, that's why he's so good at what he does. He gets other people triggered and then makes them out to be. But you've got all these great videos of Jason getting triggered himself and then seeing the mistakes he makes up.
Right.
So here's the way I want to describe it for you, and the way I'm looking at it. And I hope this makes sense. So I know how easy it is to trigger the minds and get people into what's called alters, altered states.
Right.
So you remember there's this really famous meme out there, the Who Spoofed the Seth Rich Files. Are you familiar with that meme?
Of course.
Okay. That conveyed to me as it when I was reading into it, when I was looking at it at the time, and when I would watch these things, I don't keep a lot of noise around and keep a lot of stuff on. I try to get pretty focused, and I tend to pick up, I think, more information than the average person picks up that I can verify differently. You know what I mean? And with that case of watching this guy go on his Freako breakdown,
and then
you
mean Thomas?
I'm talking about way
Goodman.
back in May or June of last year, the Who Spoofed the Seth Rich Files.
Oh, and who went through a breakdown? Jason, when he...
That was Goodman. That was Goodman who went down through a breakdown.
Yeah, okay.
And he was making his partners at the time very uncomfortable. There was a lot of videos of them. They're just, they're stressed. This is like way more than they wanted to bite and take off and chew at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a guy that says, hey, I'm awake now and I just saw some YouTube videos and it seems like the government's, lying to us and I think I'll make all these videos. Hey, that's great. Go knock yourself out. That's wonderful.
Right.
But then when he starts to turn into kind of a pest and a problem, and he's turned into a pest and a problem in my life, but mainly through other people that I know that have risked their lives to try and stop human trafficking and all these other horrible things.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I got alerted, and that's when I started getting out of bed more and putting myself to use trying to track this stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see is I see people that are easily triggered and manipulated by, who knows what, but it gets them in an anxiety-filled state, and they go and they make, dangerous decisions. The same thing happens with your audience. If you show up and you're upset and people are giving you a hard time, then some people in your audience may turn around and become your vigilantes, and you saw that happen last year.
Yeah, people
So
became
I think
neurotic because I was neurotic, and people became distressed because I was distressed. Yeah, that's why I have to keep myself on balance.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, it's the reason I have to keep myself balanced because it affects people who are following what's going on.
Exactly, and you need to take it seriously because it is legitimate, and despite what anybody says scientifically or whatever, there is this community kind of psyche that happens. Well, the community psyche around Jason's organized little thing that he's doing is creepy as get out. I mean, I would ask any astrologer out there or people that are good at reading energies or, most people don't even watch his stuff. I put his videos in front of so many people I know, and they're like, yeah, I'm not really interested in listening to this guy. Who is he? What's I'm like, I can't get him to even remotely dive into it. So I'm afflicted because I find it interesting, the fact that he got Abel Danger on his show the day that Abel Danger said that the SES had dropped out. And now look, SES is everywhere. AIM is talking about SES. Titus Frost is talking about the SES. This is the Security Executive Service.
The Senior Executive Service. I'm only familiar with it in as much as I've been looking into this American intelligence media thing, and they say that if you're not talking about the Senior Executive Service, that you're a shill. So I thought to myself, boy, am I a shill? I've never heard of the Senior Executive Service.
Now I don't want to talk about it now that they're saying stuff like that. Yeah. See, it's all on how things are presented and marketed. I mean, the truth is the truth, and then what you have is you just have all these weird marketing things. So, for example, one of the best marketing things that's going on right now, the PSYOP that I'm on, is I wanted to make Steam it work for me. And I didn't want to make Steam it work the traditional way because it's a new thing and it's a blockchain. And I went around looking for some truthers that weren't so well known, that weren't so big on their hog that they were willing to maybe sit and listen. Robert Steele was kind of one of those that I had approached very early on, saying, since you're an open source and you should know about blockchain, here, take a look at this. And I did provide quite a bit of research and pro bono work in the open source arena when it comes to learning about blockchain. So when I was trying to get people like Jason on last year, I wasn't directly trying to get Jason on. I was actually talking with George Webb, trying to get him on, because I'd seen the YouTube bump coming and all this stuff. And I said, hey, if you're really, interested in this, and it was many others, it wasn't just George Webb. And I do have terrible, terrible skills when it comes to picking certain people.
All right. Hold on, because we have to get a lot more calls in. I'm losing the thread of things. So try to get the thread together for me real quick.
All right, I was just doing all this stuff that you're seeing that's happening now a year ago because I saw all the stuff happening now. Getting on other social media sites, trying to keep evidence intact. Right now, everybody's running around on YouTube still. I don't know why. I'll simple it out. I'll simple it out for you here. I don't like people on YouTube. I don't care if you have a channel, Nathan. I'll get you banned myself.
Well, I prefer. A lot of people would be upset with that. We have a number of people tuned in now who are happy that I'm on YouTube, and they will go over to Steam it. They will go over to Twitch.
Eventually.
They will go over to DTube. We're going to get them there. Now, I have Monograph apparently in the chat right now, so I'm going to see if we can get them in. Thanks, Frank. Bye. Okay. All right. So now we have Dave Acton in the chat, who I've had some issues with, who also has NSA connections, who has been buttering me up for a while now. Monograph. Okay, I don't have the phone open because people say Monty should call in, but everybody's going to be calling in. So I need to make a special effort to have that happen if it's going to happen. I haven't seen Monograph here. Oh. I don't know. People have been talking about Monty. Okay, maybe it's okay. I'm just gonna open the phone. It's I don't know if people are saying the right thing. People are crazy. Maybe they're just messing with me. 650 Gay Taxi. Thanks everybody who's tuned in. Remember to find me on all my platforms. Remember, I'm live on Twitch right now, just in case this channel disappears. I have to talk about things that are worth talking about. I talk about them within the rules. But at any time, for any reason, I could get a strike just like anybody else on YouTube, and then I wouldn't be able to live stream. So I will still be live streaming. If that happens, it will just be taking place on Twitch, twitch.tv/LetTheVeil411. This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Nathan, how you doing? This is Monty. I called you on a clean number. I don't want any problem with you at all.
No, that's all right.
Talk very, very straight. I appreciate it. If you don't give my number to anyone, I'd appreciate that you wouldn't do that.
Okay, no problem, of course.
But you might. Whatever. Okay,
No, I
now
won't.
I have absolute verifiable information on Douglas Jude Gabriel. Sure do.
Okay.
He's 63 years of age. And, of course, he lives in your part of the woods.
He does, okay.
And, I know he does. And
Okay.
I have him right down to an inch of where that man sits.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to state that because that's naughty. And the guy has not attacked me personally, so I'm not going to do that. But just for him to know, if he's watching this show or if he makes any threats to me, I will have him arrested because I got his address. You see what I mean? Now, here's
Okay.
the thing. He did not work for the NSA. He worked for the ASA, which is the Army Security Agency, okay? The Army Security Agency is totally different than the NSA.
Okay, let me interrupt. Okay, so he says he works for the NSA. You say he worked for the... He said NSA, right? I didn't hear that wrong. But you're saying he didn't work for the NSA, he worked for the A. So where did you get that information? Or where did you get that information?
Here's the thing. He worked for the Army Security Agency. The Army Security Agency, in other words, is a branch of the Army for cryptography. Every single military branch in the United States military has the equivalent of the ASA. The Marines has the equivalent. The Navy has the equivalent. The Air Force has the equivalent of the Army Security Agency. Okay, it's not the NSA.
Okay.
This guy had spoken in a video that he also wrote a program called COC, or maybe he said COQ. Either one. No, he didn't. Sorry. Ruby on Rails. He did not. That's nonsense. This guy also stated that he, created information or the plot dealing with Star Wars. He also stated that he was responsible for all of the movies dealing with I'm trying to think of the damn. I got the link up on the October Range channel. Indiana Jones, yeah, that was it. It's so ridiculous, okay? The guy is a chronic liar, and he's a master manipulator. He is well-read. He's also an author. He's got a Ph.D., and he has nothing to do with the NSA. He is trying to scare the living bejesus out of Jason, who is not my friend, but after listening to Jason's video, the things that he said to Jason was beyond inappropriate.
Right.
This knucklehead, Douglas Jude Gabriel, is age 63, and it just boils down to his past job was he was a school superintendent for a pretty well-known school. Okay, and this guy is trying to eliminate all of the competition, like you, like Jason, like everybody else, to bring people to his channel, to bring people to his information. This nonsense that the Q group contacted him and did some sort of data transfer through P2P or email is absolute and utter garbage. He was not contacted by the Q group. He did not have any data transfer, either between Skype, email, or anything else. No way, no how. It's garbage. It's a lie. Didn't happen. And here's another thing.
Can I ask you,
contacted me
how
on
are
the
you?
25th.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Contacted me via email on the 25th on my private server. That was the biggest mistake of all time, because in doing so, he was identified. He sure was. I don't care what kind of email address he has. So what? Big deal. But the information that we had through the transfer of information via email, this was on the 26th, Nathan.
Oh, just a few days ago.
He didn't put out his video about having contact with the Q group until the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
He emailed me, and I have record of it, on the 25th. He sure did, and he used a Proton email address to conceal his identity and who he was. That didn't work because he was identified. Now, here's the thing. In the email exchange between he and I, he took my opinions. Okay, this is my opinion what happened. He took my opinions once I emailed him back, and he tried to identify me and he couldn't do it. This is my opinion. And he thought to himself, holy crap, this guy really knows what he's talking about because I can't identify him. This guy's webmaster of a plethora of different websites, a bunch of them.
Yes.
And I'm not joking.
Yes,
okay?
a number of websites.
Tons. You just wouldn't even you just can't even imagine it. So, of course, he knows HTML, and whoopee ding. There's webmasters a dime a dozen. Okay, it doesn't mean diddly squat. Okay, the fact of the matter is he took my opinions and he turned around and turned them into some sort of factual clause on the video he put out on the 26th, stating that QAnon was fake and all that nonsense. Okay, and then he placed into that video that he was contacted by the Q group, which is BS.
Okay.
No, it was an email exchange between him and I. He took my opinions and he elaborated them to be fact when they're not. They're my opinions.
Okay, all right.
This is how I know. The guy, I'm sorry, Nathan, I'm not trying to be rude and I'm not trying to be overbearing with information. It's just that this clown involved me in his video before he even dropped it. And how I know it is because the statements that he made in the video as well match damn near word for word of that email exchange.
Okay, great. And now hopefully it's okay if I ask you a few questions. One of them is you said that you're certain that Q didn't contact him and that there was no data transfer. To be certain of something like that, you'd have to have some kind of intelligence on it. So how are you so certain that he hasn't been in touch with Q? Is it because you have contact with Q, or
No, I don't have. Listen, bud. No, I don't have contact with Q. I never have. The first Q that came out. This is what I stated in my email to him when he contacted me on the 25th. I stated that the first Q that came out was real, and that one was real. I do believe.
What does it mean that it's real? What does that mean, real? Because I understand it was different, but what does real mean? What can you elaborate?
In other words, in my opinion, I'm not saying right because I'm a nobody, but I'm saying in my opinion, the information that was dropped out and the way that it was dropped and structured and the information that was given to the public was legitimate.
I see. Meaning
it teetered on violating secrecies. In other words, if you violate secrecy, buddy, you're going right to jail. And in my opinion, that individual was scooped up quickly and then replaced. Because if you remember, there was a time where he kind of went silent for several days. I believe that the post that was made where he said that he's going to be silent for 10 days, he was nabbed at that time.
He went away for good when that happened, right?
Yes. In other words, the person that posted that was actually either the NSA or the CIA or the DIA, which is, in my opinion, a hell of a lot more dangerous than the CIA. You know what I mean?
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I believe that when the post was made that he's going to be gone for 10 days or whatever the hell it was, that post was not made by him. That was made by one of the intelligence services, and he was already scooped up, man, taken out of the picture.
Okay.
And then they figured on 10 days that they're going to come up with some cockamamie nonsense and then go forward.
And then from
whoever
there on,
that entity would be, I don't know because I don't know. Okay. But what I'm saying is the data transfer between Douglas and Q Group and the phone calls are absolute and utter garbage.
Okay.
No way, no how. And how can I back that up? Because he didn't provide one shred of evidence. He didn't provide a phone call. He didn't provide the data. He just dangled it in front of you and said, I have the data, but I'm not going to share it with you. I have the information, but I'm not going to share it with you. Excuse me, that's somebody that's trying to pull a fast one against you all the against you, Jason. Pick a outfit that
Right.
does, online whatever.
Right.
It's a scam, dude. It's a fraud.
Right. Well,
But I'm telling you,
Go ahead.
the guy just needs to change his depends, go play some golf, and stop playing around with so many people on the internet, because it's absolute BS.
Okay, yeah, and I will say that what it bothers me quite a bit that he'll say something that he claims is backed by evidence, and he'll say, I know this, but I'm not going to tell you, and I'm not going to show you the evidence, which should be disconcerting to everyone. Let me ask you a question. You're friends with Roy Potter, though, right?
Very good friend.
Okay, so Roy Potter featured these two on, took a whole episode of his channel to feature Thomas and Betsy on an episode. And I didn't know who they were at the time. Why would Roy Potter do that? You guys seem to agree on things a lot. Why would Roy Potter promote them?
Okay, first of all, without divulging too much information, we've discussed that just recently. And as soon as I found out the information about this clown, Douglas Depends, I contacted him and said, hey, man, there's a problem here. Let me explain it to you. I explained it to him. I said, if you don't believe me, if you want the verifiable proof, I can give it to you either in an email or whatever. And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just telling you the facts. There's audio out there from some time ago where he's running his mouth of other interviews where he's just lying, and the people that are interviewing him are catching him. See, Jason did a pretty good job in that, you have to admit, I mean, if you saw it, that video that he released of the recording that he made with Monday, on Monday with this clown. He did a pretty good job, keeping his cool, because if somebody talked to me like that or threatened me like that on the phone, in 5 minutes I'd have them arrested. You know what I mean? Because I'd have the proof that they just threatened me. You know what I mean? I mean, who is this clown? He's a former superintendent for a college. All right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not secret agent man. Sorry.
Right. And how do you know that? From looking, were you able to? Did you do some kind of background check on him after you found out exactly who he was? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And in other words, I didn't pay anybody. In other words, I'm a sleuther, and everybody knows it.
Okay.
So,
is
verifiable.
Is he kind of wealthy? Because it seemed to me that I was being invited, because I was invited to his home, and I must have been given his address.
I know.
At some
Well,
point.
hang on a second about that. Because of laws called the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, I can't divulge his financials at all.
Okay.
That would be inappropriate and be wrong, and I believe it'd be illegal.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do that. But I can tell you from what property he went from over here to the property he is at right now.
Okay.
But I'm not going to, because he didn't attack me personally.
Right.
However, I do have an email into him to have a talk with him. Give me your phone number. He said he'd give his phone number out to anybody that will interview him.
Yeah, he said that.
I'll interview him. I'm not afraid of him.
I asked him to come on my show today. I said, you really should answer these questions, because I watched the video and there are a lot of things people are going to want to know. There are a lot of questions I have, that's for sure. And I told him it would kind of affect his credibility if he didn't show up. So I thought the same thing. He said, hey, I'll talk to anybody. Well, I asked him to talk to me about it. He declined for now. So.
I mean, listen, the horrible things that he said, and you know this, Nathan, and we've had our little bout in our past, and I don't hold it personal against you, because it's over with, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But the things that he said to Jason Goodman, and again, Jason is not my pal either, but was beyond inappropriate. I mean, it's just horrible, dude. I mean, really? He is essentially trying to eliminate, this is why he picked up the Thomas Paine name, and I agree with Jason on this, that he did what is called just shy of plagiarism. He's using a name that somebody else is using, even though there's somebody else, of somebody famous within our constitutional right, and he's doing that to muddy the water, and I agree with that.
Do you think it wasn't just an accident, or that it wasn't just an accident they picked that name, and that it was because it was... No. Yeah, interesting.
Because Thomas Paine on Twitter and on his writings and his information is outstanding, and he has quite the following. So what did he do? He perverted the name so that way he could turn around and run his mouth into all this cockamamie nonsense, and people are confused of who's who and who's what.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, Monty. Well, thanks so much for the call. I think we covered everything. Unless you have something else you want to say. A lot of people are tuned in, interested in this.
I do have something I wanted to say.
Go ahead.
That the incident that we had between you and I, dude, that crap is over with, and it's long gone. It truly is.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
cool.
I don't have any ill will against you or your family.
I appreciate
I just
it.
want you to know that.
I appreciate it. Nor I at this moment. I've made amends with everybody, I hope. So I appreciate the sentiment, and I appreciate the call in. It's good information for everybody to hear.
All right, man. Well, you have a good day.
Thanks. You too, Monty. Okay. That was Monograph. People might know him. I just opened the phone again, 650-GAY-TAXI. Thanks, everybody who's tuning in. Still more and more people joining the show. It seems like it's pretty popular. So I always get great phone calls. Phone's open right now. We're running into, quite frankly, show once again. I need to start earlier, but I do try to get my research done before things start. So I'm going to take a few more phone calls. Thanks for everybody for joining me. Thanks for being interested in this kind of material. That was a phone call from Monograph claiming that Thomas Paine is a fraud of some sort. There are some questions, guys. We have lots of questions. Does that mean the information is incorrect? That's a real question you want to ask. Does that mean we can't believe anything he says? This is Nathan. You're on the air.
Nathan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, hey, it's Earthling. I talked to you during the David Seaman Charity Marathon a long time ago.
Awesome. I'd love to say I remember the phone call, but it was a long time ago.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Your place is like Wild Kingdom right now.
I know. Is it too distracting?
No, it's actually kind of cool. You've been talking about mind control.
I have.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of psychological slavery that's going on out there right now. Interesting phenomenon. People think they're waking up, but they're actually just following certain people down certain paths. The truth community out there, the quote unquote, on YouTube, is in an interesting spot right now.
Agreed.
It seems that everybody's spending time investigating the community when that's not what this whole thing, I thought, was about. People like to look outside themselves sometimes, but people have a lot of self-focus too. And a lot of the players in this game, I think, are really looking internally right now, and at maybe some of their fragilities and some of their frailties, when they should be looking at the outside world and maybe could spend time on camera and I'm not talking about you specifically, I'm talking about a lot of people, investigating important topics going on in the geopolitical realm.
Okay. All right. Can I address that? Okay. So you have this sentiment that a number of people have, very vocally. F and Freddie is always talking about along these lines, is that we need to stop wasting time doing one thing and we need to focus on what's really important. And I have some sympathy for that. The reason I'm talking about this today is because it's really, really interesting to me. I mean, that's the truth. And I want to talk about what's interesting to me. And I think it must have some consequence. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested in it. But what do you think are the things? Do you think then, rather than doing this show today and addressing what I find to be really fascinating, we should be focused on something else? And what kind of things would those be?
Oh, like I said, I mean, looking out into the corruption at all levels within the geopolitical arenas. But, you said something that you're interested in. And I know a lot of other people, other YouTube presenters in this electromagnetic sphere that you talked about are also very interested in these things personally. But I think it actually limits, in some ways, the real digging. into things that matter. Because YouTube, presenting on YouTube, it doesn't matter that much. It's a great conduit for information to come out. But I think personally, this is just my opinion. Like I said, I think it's become a little bit sidetracked. And I think part of the problem is that everybody's under their own linguistic control. Or not everybody, I should say, because some people are saying whatever they want to. But I see a lot of people self-censoring and, in a sense, becoming their own gatekeepers on this major platform where you can gain an audience that's much bigger than BitChute, DTube, or whatever else might be out there.
Right.
And I think it would be great to have a forum. You know, you have your alt news thing, and I think something like that would be great, where people can actually really speak how they feel, as opposed to checking themselves all the time. Because I watch you and UniRock. I feel like you guys check yourself a lot. And I like watching you guys.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like you are being maybe totally honest with the way that you guys actually feel. I think that that's what your audiences would respond to you, and that's the context that would fit you guys the best.
Yeah. Well, you know, I spent a lot of time saying exactly what I thought, and it was okay to do on YouTube, and it's not. So it's definitely a balance. We're trying to reach people and tell people the truth, but we have to balance that with being able to still reach people and tell people the truth, because if we say certain things, then we are liable to get our channel shut down. Even like I've been saying this whole show, I'm worried about certain things. And that's the advantage to moving to these alternative platforms. And, you know, where we can say these things, it's just, we're kind of in this in-between world right now where the alternative platforms aren't that big and we still have an audience on YouTube. So,
no, you're in Google world where some streams can exist and really just slander and defame people 24 hours a day and not get taken down, and then other people can say nothing and their videos and channels can be removed. So it's a very interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
I have alt news. I like I said, I like that concept. I think that the name alt news though is going to drive like the left away. And I think you want something maybe that's inclusive in terms of the branding, that wouldn't be standoffish, because yes, there's an alt left and an alt right, but when people in the media talk about the alt, they're talking about the right. They're not talking about the left.
Right. Well, we'll have to see. Yeah. It's a provocative. It's easy to find, so we'll see. I think we're stuck with it because I own it, and you know it's worth a lot. So we're going to try to go with it and see. But I appreciate what you're saying. Alt is being associated with the right, and I think we're beyond partisan. So it would be better.
Absolutely. And I think you're beyond partisan, but that's what I was saying. I feel like the alt name or the alt in a title, the branding of it is going to be perceived in a different way.
It could be.
You like theatrics? You like drama?
Sure.
Can I lead you with about 7 lines of Shakespeare about the fickleness of the masses?
Okay. From what are you quoting from?
This is Octavius Caesar from Antony and Cleopatra.
Okay, go ahead.
It hath been taught us from the primal state that he which is was wished until he were, and the ebbed man, ne'er loved till ne'er worth love, comes deared by being lacked. This common body, like to a vagabond flag upon the stream, goes to and back, lackeying the varying tide to rot itself with motion. I wish you a good day. And I hope we're all in the matrix, you know, we all got straight lines. Get out in nature and find those squiggly lines. That's where the real vibrations are.
Cheers. Thank you so much for the call. Okay. All right, man. I'm pretty good at Shakespeare and stuff, but I still couldn't get the whole thing. I mean, you know, I listened to it. I'd have to look at it again. So I studied Shakespeare quite a bit, actually. But I don't know exactly what his quote meant. Find the squiggly lines. We are in a matrix. It is like a video game. I'm running over time again into, quite frankly, show only because of the interest and only because I know a lot of people are trying to call. We'll take maybe one or two more calls just to see if there's anything exciting that comes around. Thanks, everybody so far who's tuned in. We appreciate you guys. Exciting to have shows like this. 650-429-8294. That's Doshi. He's my producer. You saw Sumi with the cone. It's because of an eye thing. Can't paw at the eye. So Sumi's in a cone. That's Doshi. Hey, Dosh. Good show. Telepathically giving me my signals. It was a very interesting call with Monograph. A lot of people like being tuned in for that. We'll see. We're having a little delay between calls. We'll see if we get one more. Oh, shit. I have to go. We're going to leave it there. It was a great show. It's going to be compact so everybody can watch it. We'll leave it on YouTube. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for coming to my Discord, which is right there. Discord chat where you can hang around with like-minded people whenever you want, 24 hours a day, 3 days a week. Did I say 3? That's what I meant. Discord.gg. You have to guess which 3. And then those letters there in upper and lowercase. Thanks, everybody famous who showed up in the chat. To the rest of you, I appreciate you too. As long as you're always buying t-shirts. You can do that at truthclothing.io. And you can find me here around 2 to 2:30 before Quite Frankly's show, which is on right now. Thanks for tuning in. As always, that is what it is.